The PlayStation Vita is arguably the most underappreciated gaming platform of all time. It had and still continues to get so many great games, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 PS Vita games of all time. Let's get right into this. Number 10, Soul Sacrifice. Soul Sacrifice is one of the more interesting PlayStation Vita exclusives. The game actually had work done by Keiji Inafune of Mega Man fame, and he created the core mechanic of sacrificing body parts to perform massive attacks. The game has excellent art direction and a great combat system. It's not perfect, the game gets a bit repetitive, but there's a lot to like about Soul Sacrifice. Number 9, Zero Time Dilemma. Zero Time Dilemma is the third entry in the Zero Escape series following 999 and Virtue's Last Reward. It's hard to gush over Zero Time Dilemma without giving spoilers, but just know if you're into story-driven games, Zero Time Dilemma's writing, plot are top-notch. The story is so good, but at the same time, it's very well-paced. Yes, it's a very serious game, it's suspenseful, but the dialogue between the characters really keeps the player engaged. Number 8, Tearaway. Tearaway was developed by Media Molecule, the same guys that made Little Big Planet. The game is a very artsy third-person platformer that utilizes the majority of the PlayStation Vita's features, from the rear touch panel to the gyroscope, etc. The story and writing won't blow you away on that end, it's pretty simplistic, but the gameplay is extremely intricate and the art style is great. The major issue with Tearaway is that it's very short. You can complete it within 5 hours, but outside of that, it's a very good game. You'll want to know that Tearaway Unfolded was released on the PlayStation 4. That version is a remake that also expands on the original game. Number 7, Gravity Rush. Gravity Rush was one of the most unique games on the Vita. It's an action RPG where you play as Kat, a girl that has the ability to manipulate gravity and use it in her combat, travel, etc. The game isn't perfect, some of the combat isn't the best, and the game can get very repetitive. However, that is outweighed by the great aesthetic design and creativity. Gravity Rush 2 is coming out at the end of the year, so playing the first game now might not be a bad idea. You should also know that Gravity Rush was remastered onto the PlayStation 4 earlier this year, and that version includes all of the DLC as well as a very nice art gallery. Number 6, Freedom Wars. Freedom Wars is a third-person action game developed by Sony's Japan studio. The game has some resemblance to Monster Hunter where there are some grandiose battles, but it definitely has its own elements that make it greatly stand out. It does get a bit grindy at times, but the gameplay is well designed and graphically it looks fantastic. The narrative is also great and the writing was pretty good. It should be noted that this game does not have English voiceovers, but that largely isn't a big deal, but it may put off some people. Still, Freedom Wars is very much worth playing. Number 5, Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet was a huge series on the PlayStation 3, but arguably the best version of LBP belongs to the PS Vita. Unlike many other games on the Vita that tack things on like the touchscreen, Little Big Planet is able to utilize every element of the Vita and it makes the overall game better. The level creation was the best in the series and the platforming was as good as ever. For Little Big Planet fans, this is a must play. Number 4, Uncharted Golden Abyss. Uncharted Golden Abyss was the premier launch title for the PlayStation Vita, and it really showcased the power that the device had. Now, don't expect Uncharted 2 level visuals out of Golden Abyss. It's more comparable to Drake's Fortune and probably a little bit below that. But considering that this is a portable device, that's still pretty impressive. The game itself is designed to cater towards an on-the-go experience. Chapters are relatively short and the game is always flowing. The story is largely inconsequential to the entirety of Uncharted, but it's still a worthwhile playthrough. At this point, this game hasn't been ported to any other PlayStation platform, so Golden Abyss is the one game fans may have missed.
So much gold, the revolution will live.
What have you done the last 10 years except work piss-ass jobs for schlubs like me?
Number 3, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Visual novels have not really been accepted by the mass gaming audience, but if you want a game that's a bit of a hybrid where it tells its story through the visual novel style but also offers some interesting gameplay, Danganronpa is a very good option. Don't get me wrong, the strength of Danganronpa is its story and writing. It's phenomenal. You play as a new kid going to his dream high school, things go bad and suddenly it turns into a death game with his fellow classmates. It sounds pretty ridiculous in premise, but trust me, from the writing to the plot twist, the amazing music, Danganronpa does all of it right. There's also a sequel, Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, which is just as good, if not better than the first game. Just make sure you play them in order since they are very much connected. Number 2, Killzone Mercenary. Killzone Mercenary is another game just like Uncharted Golden Abyss that really showcases the sheer power that the PlayStation Vita has. Graphically, it's a little under Killzone 2, and considering KZ2 is one of the best looking PS3 games, that's very high praise. The campaign is very well done, and the fact that you would be rewarded and that would transfer over to the multiplayer gave a lot of incentive to play it. Speaking of the multiplayer, that is the primary reason you'll play Killzone Mercenary. It's very well done with a variety of game modes and a lot of replay value. As far as multiplayer games go, Killzone Mercenary is the best on Vita.
Fight dirty. With stealth. With force.
Number 1, Persona 4 Golden. Persona in the past was a very niche series where the people that played it enjoyed it, but that's it. In recent years, it seems as though the series has been gaining popularity, and a large part of that can be contributed to Persona 4 Golden. The game ports Persona 4 to the Vita, ups the graphics, adds in new features and story elements. Largely, the game is the same, but having Persona 4 on the go is a godsend. And because this was one of the premier games on the Vita and that word of mouth really seemed to spread on how awesome Persona 4 was, it did very well commercially. If you haven't played Persona 4 Golden yet and you have a Vita, you're missing out on the platform's best game. Pick it up ASAP, and Persona 5 is coming out next year, so get excited for that too. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 PlayStation Vita games of all time. What do you think? Which PlayStation Vita games were your favorite? Comment your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.